Okay, moving on from one-step equations, we're now going to look at two-step and three-step equations. So these ones, if you are able to recognize each step, are not too difficult. You're just finding what you need to do first and then doing one step at a time. So again, you need to remember the main goal is to get the variable by itself, and whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So with two-step equations and three-step equations, the first thing you want to do is look for the number without the term, like without the pronumeral. Okay, so get all the numbers together first, and we do the pronumeral last. So if we have a look at this example here, we've got 2 plus 3x equals 8. Okay, so we're just looking at this example. So you can see that the 2 and the 8 are not related to the pronumeral. They're not got the pronumeral with them. So we're going to do them first. So again, we're going to look at the inverse operation. Okay, so we can see that this is a positive 2, right? So we're going to do the inverse operation and take away 2 from both sides. So if we take away 2. So remember that 2 take away 2 becomes 0, so we're just left with 3x, and 8 take away 2 is 6. Now we're just back to a one-step equation, and you can see that we have 3 times x. So we're just going to do the opposite or the inverse of multiply, which is divide both sides by 3, and 6 divided by 3 equals 2. Okay, so let's do a few examples of two-step equations, and then I have some examples of three-step equations. So again, just remember the two-step equations are just find the number that's not attached to the variable and then do that one first. Then you do the one that has the pronumeral with it, and that will turn into a one-step equation. So let's have a look. So in our first example, you can see the 1 is not attached and the 3 is not attached. So we're going to do those first. So the inverse operation would be to subtract 1 from both sides. Okay, so we're left with 2x. Sorry, 2x. 1 take away 1 is 0, so that disappears. And 3 take away 1 is 2. So now we have 2x equals 2. We have a one-step equation here. We can see that that's 2 times x, so we're going to divide by 2, okay, which is our inverse operation. 2 divided by 2 becomes 1, so they disappear. And x equals 2 divided by 2, which is 1. Again, you can put this back into your equation. So if we put this up here into our equation, I'm just going to clear up the equation a bit so we can see it better. Okay, so if we put up here the x, it would be 2 times x, which is 1, plus 1 equals 3. And you can see here that 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 equals 3. So we're correct. So at any point in time, if you're not sure, you can pop it back in and check, or you should always check anyway. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. What's not attached to our pronumeral? We've got a negative x and an 18. So the inverse operation of minus x is plus x. Sorry, try that again. The inverse operation of minus 6 is plus 6 to both sides. Okay, so 18 plus 6 is going to be 24. Then we have equals 3x, and negative 6 plus 6 is 0, so they just cancel out. Now you can see we have a one-step equation here, so we're just going to multiply 3 times x. So what's the opposite of multiplying? Divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 3. Okay, the 3 and the 3 cancel out, and it equals x. And 24 divided by 3 is 8. Now, generally, 8 equals x is not how we would write this. Because they're both positive, we can just flip them over to x equals 8. Okay. All right, next one, let's find our numbers that are not attached to our pronumeral. So we've got negative 15 or minus 15 and a 10. So we can do the inverse operation. So we're going to plus both 15 to both sides. Okay, so 10 plus 15 becomes 25 equals 5y. and 15 minus 15 plus 15 is 0. Again, we've got a one-step equation here. 5 times y, so we're going to divide by 5, divide by 5. The 5's cancel out, we're left with y, and 25 divided by 5 is 5, and again we'll just switch them around, so y equals 5. Okay, we'll just switch it to that. Again, you can put that into your equation and check it as well. Okay, let's look at the next one. Now we'll find what's not attached to the pronumeral. So we can see we've got x divided by 2. So that 2 is attached to that pronumeral, but our minus 1 here is not. So we'll do that first. So the opposite or inverse of minus 1 is to plus 1. So we'll do that to both sides. So our x divided by 2 just stays there. Then minus 1 plus 1 cancels out, and 7 plus 1 equals 8. Now we're back to a one-step equation. So we've got x divided by 2. So the opposite of divided by is to times 2. So we're going to times 2 on both sides. The 2's cancel out on this side and we're left with x, and 8 times 2 is 16. Alright, next one. We've got plus 5 and 11 are not attached. So we'll do the inverse operation, which is to minus 5. Minus 5 from both sides, so we're left with 3x. Plus 5 minus 5 is 0. 11 minus 5 will give us, what's that, 6. And again, one-step equation here, 3 times x, so we're going to divide by 3, doing the inverse. The 3's cancel out, we're left with x, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So it's really just one step at a time, just finding what's not attached to the pronumeral. Okay, so this one's a little trickier, but you need to see that everything above our division sign is divided by 7. So that means that a and 2 are attached because they're both being divided by 7. Okay, so we're not going to do those first. We're going to do the 7 first. The 7 needs to be moved to the other side with the 3. Okay, so to do that, we're going to do the inverse operation. So everything is being divided by 7, so we're going to times by 7. Remember, if something's divided by a number and then times by that number, they just cancel out. So we're left with a minus 2, and 3 times 7 is 21. Now we're left with a one-step equation here. We're going to do the inverse operation of the negative there, or the minus there. So a minus 2, we're going to plus 2 to both sides. So those two will cancel out. We're left with a, and 21 plus 2 equals 23. Alright, so there are two-step equations. Now, there is a page of two-step equations here for you to work through. Just one page there, some addition, subtraction, and multiplication and division ones. And then once we've done that, we've got some three-step equations. So we'll do the three-step equations next.